Well, we're lucky enough to have a bloke with probably one of the top senses of humour in world cricket, I would say. And he's been kind enough to join us only a few days after New Zealand have knocked over Australia. Jimmy Neesham. Jimmy, welcome back to The Grade Cricketer.
Thanks. Good to be here, Ian.
I wrote to invite you onto the show on Sunday evening and gave you two choices, Monday or Tuesday. Sunday obviously was when the series, and you wrote back, and I quote, and I'm sorry to sort of publish WhatsApp with the boys stuff, but you wrote, haha, definitely not tomorrow. So I take it the Kiwi boys had a good circuit after pumping Australia in the decider?
Yeah, it was a bit of a mixed year. Obviously, it was a little bit of an unusual day. We played at midday, so the Aussie boys could shoot off back to, I assume, Sydney after the game. So, yeah, we found ourselves about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, obviously with a trophy in the cabinet, and yeah, thought we'd have a couple. But I had a bit of a nightmare travel day yesterday because I had to rush out of Auckland just before one of the lockdowns a week or so ago, and had to drive to Tauranga, which is about 3 hours away, and then fly onto the tour from there. So I had to fly Wellington to Tauranga yesterday morning and then pick my car up and drive 3 hours back. So, it was a challenging day, but yeah, certainly happy to be home for a little bit.
I saw a nice photo go around on the internet, Jimmy. You obviously signed Glenn Maxwell's jersey after the series, and you put 4-6-4-4-4-6 on the back of his jersey, obviously in reference to when Maxie got after you after a big over off your bowling, and I think it was the third T20 game. I mean, this appears to be an incredibly modest gesture, but I presume the front of the jersey, which wasn't photographed on the front, had 3-2 champ.
No, there's a bit of banter that goes on, obviously, on the WhatsApp that doesn't go into the public. But I texted him after the game, and I sort of said, how come I had to sit there for 2 months in the IPL watching you bat like an idiot, and then the one time I actually have to bowl to you, you turn around and do that? So, he's obviously a pretty hard to contain player when he's going well. And I think we saw a couple of innings in this series. He sort of got his mojo back a little bit. So, you don't want to be bowling to him when he's on form, that's for sure.
I mean, as Higgins just says that, Jimmy, I note that Rahane and the Indian boys presented Nathan Lyon with a jersey to commemorate his 100th test after India knocked Australia over. And I just know you've done that to Glenn Maxwell after you guys have knocked Australia over as well. So is that the sort of start of a tradition? If you beat a team, do you then give somebody a jersey as well, just to look magnanimous after the victory?
Well, just to really rub it in, you reckon? We're the better cricketers and we're better blokes as well. So really try and put the foot on the throat.
Yeah, I guess so. Jimmy, there's not great. I don't think there's great T20 literacy in Australia, like this show included. But like beneath the data and the metrics of a new format, like there still must be a feeling heading into a series of like we should win, or alternatively, we might need a little bit of luck to win. So here in Australia, we're like, we've got all these high-profile superstars, even though it's maybe a second-string team. We should knock the Kiwis over. Did you guys consider yourself favourites heading in to the series, or was it just merely a case of getting the job done and you did that?
I think. I always think that we expect to be winning games of cricket. I think we've got enough quality cricketers now across the board to win games of cricket. But it was a little bit of an unknown, I guess. I think. Normally you come up against other international teams and you've played guys a lot before and you sort of have experiences of what they're going to do. And obviously with a few younger, newer guys getting picked out of the Big Bash, there are a lot of guys we hadn't played before. And I think our scouting meeting before the series went for about an hour and a half because you had about 20 blokes over here that most of us hadn't seen play cricket before. So, there's a lot of, calling for drinks and stuff in the middle of the scouting meeting. So, we got through that. But it's massively a momentum game. Obviously, we started with a hiss and a roar at the start of the series and had 2 good wins, and then had a couple of poor performances. But T20 cricket is one of those formats where even when a team's down and out, you can turn up on the day and Aaron Finch smashes 80 odd and basically wins the team the game. So we did feel confident, but having said that, it's a format where you can never take anything for granted.
I feel like heading into the World Cup, Nation, might be. I think it's India and England are probably the 2 favourites heading into the World Cup.
T20 World Cup.
T20 World Cup. T20 World Cup. Yeah, maybe Australia. I guess I don't really know, but I feel like not many people are talking about New Zealand. But we've seen in the last 10 years, probably 10 years. Like New Zealand are a tough team to beat in tournaments. I mean, you guys, I'm sure you guys are confident. You're not going to say like, oh no, hopefully we just make a quarterfinal or something. You know, I'm sure you're not going to say that. But like, I mean, what do you think would be, what's the key for New Zealand to go deep in the tournament? I think there's 8 Kiwis in the IPL this year. You're a huge player, obviously, for New Zealand as well. I mean, what is the key for New Zealand to go deep in the World Cup?
Well, I mean, it's no secret. It's going to be bowling and playing spin. They're going to be really important. And I think, you know, we've got Mitch Santner and Ish Sodhi in our team. Ish just got man of the series against the Australians. And Mitch Santner's obviously been one of the best spin bowling rounders in the world the last 4 or 5 years. So we certainly feel like in that department we're strong. But potentially in the past, you know, playing spin with the bat has been a bit of our weakness. But we've got a few tours over in the likes of Bangladesh and Pakistan, just leading up to that T20 World Cup, where there should be some really good opportunities to really work hard on that aspect of our games. And yeah, as you mentioned, IPL as well. A lot of guys going over there playing in those conditions will be useful. So there's a lot of water to go under the bridge yet before that tournament. I think we've got the World Test Championship final. You guys might not have heard about coming up in June, July sometime.
I think they called that off. Actually, they called it off.
Yeah, got to get through that first, and then prior to the T20 World Cup after that.
Just on that, Nish, like India's obviously pasting everybody home and away, and by everyone I mean the 2 other countries that sort of control cricket after India that we recognise. New Zealand is the unconquered outpost, really, and I know you haven't played Test cricket for a little while, but like the World Test Championship must shape as potentially, possibly could be the greatest moment in New Zealand cricket history should you blokes win, isn't it? And, you know, has an independent curator ever been more important in a game?
Yeah, the ECB are a little bit grumpy about the pitch quality at the moment around the world. So we don't know what's going to turn up, and I think it's Southampton. But yeah, I mean, I think if you look back to, just before the World Test Championship started, I think New Zealand were ranked 7th or 8th in the world in Test cricket, and performing pretty poorly. And I think it's just an amazing, I suppose, credit to the leaders in our group, guys like Brendan McCullum, Kane, Steady, obviously, for that turnaround to be at a position now where we can say we've got a chance at, I suppose, being crowned the best Test team in the world is pretty unbelievable, really, if you think about it. So I think we've always sort of punched above our weight a little bit in white ball cricket. I think it's probably easier to get away with a smaller talent pool in white ball cricket because individual players can be so much more influential. But you know, I think it has been a massive boost to us as a cricketing nation over the last 6 or 8 years. The quality of Test cricketers that have come through.
Do you guys reckon? Do you reckon that New Zealand players are still underrated on the world stage, Neech? I mean, I saw Simon Doull saying like there's a whole bunch of excellent New Zealand cricketers who aren't getting picked up over less talented Australian players.
Well, I think like Devon Conway made a big 90, and then Ravichandran Ashwin came out on Twitter and said, 4 days too late after the IPL. Yeah. And I think Simon Doull was like, well, we're always underrepresented in the IPL relative to the skill level of the players.
Yeah. So, I mean, do you still feel like there's great New Zealand players who don't get the recognition they deserve compared to perhaps Australian players?
I think to an extent, I think the Big Bash plays a massive role in that. I think, when you've got big grounds, big crowds, lots of fireworks, a speed gun that's about 8 Ks quicker than everywhere else, it sort of makes a massive difference to the quality of cricketers that you think are on display. So, like just for time zones and stuff, the Big Bash obviously plays in India. Those players get to play in front of IPL scouts and IPL owners and stuff regularly. And it's only natural that guys that you see more often, you're going to be more likely to pick up. So I suppose that's something we've seen Adam Milne go over and play in the Big Bash this year and then get picked up in the IPL off the back of that. So that's probably potentially an avenue to look at for other New Zealand cricketers. But I think first and foremost, it's about winning games for New Zealand. And I think we've seen Kyle Jamieson, come onto the international stage and win games for New Zealand and then get picked up for a very healthy amount in the IPL. So it's certainly guys don't get ignored, but certainly the Big Bash plays a big part in getting exposure to those, I suppose, second tier players.
Yeah. The speed gun is a marketing tool. That's genius.
Yeah.
Okay, so just on the IPL, you've been picked up by the Mumbai Indians, 5-time winners of the tournament. So just in researching this, Jimmy, like a number of news scraping cricket websites are referring to you as backup to Kieron Pollard. Like, is it just accepted that you come in as backup? And if so, like I'd imagine you'd be one of the most valuable blokes on sense of humor alone. The IPL goes for a long time. Like, is it helpful to be someone who's so good at getting around the boys? And if so, like, what are your strategies and tactics you employ to get around the boys in the IPL?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's no shame in being a backup to Kyron Pollard. I think in the world of T20 cricket at the moment, I think I'd probably draft him first if I was making my own team. He's an unbelievable hitter, and I think we've seen, he's played about 500 T20s and has a record that's unbelievable. So certainly not, grumpy at being described as his backup. But yeah, I think it's important in the IPL. That you're trying to contribute in any way you can, even when you're not on the playing field. And I think, I wouldn't say that's why I got picked up, because I make people laugh. But yeah, like hopefully it's something you can contribute. And, if you play 1 or 2 games or 12 games or whatever, at the end of the day, it's about helping the team win. And I suppose having a bit of a reputation of not being too grumpy when I'm not playing might help a little bit. But yeah, at the end of the day, more than happy in these sort of COVID times to have somewhere to play cricket and be able to go overseas and play, because there's certainly a little period there where everyone was stuck at home wondering, how long would it be before we could do that again.
Mm-hmm. How much are you hoping that Arjun Tendulkar's dad comes to the games?
I hadn't really thought about it, to be honest. I think be nice if he could tag me in a couple of Instagrams that he could get the followers up a little bit. But yeah, I'm sure he'll be there or thereabouts. I think he's pretty integral to the Mumbai Indians. I think he's still a mentor or something within the group, so I'm sure he'll be around at some point. Whether we have crowds or not is still to be seen. But yeah, hopefully he can come in at some point. Yeah.
I know that the New Zealand government and the New Zealand players are in talks with trying to get jump the queue to get the jab before you guys go on tour with to India and England. Have you heard much about that?
It was mentioned, very, very briefly, in the change rooms after the game, after the Australian series. It's obviously a topic of conversation that comes up a lot.
Sure.
And yeah, certainly it'd be ideal to be vaccinated before, I suppose, going to some more COVID hotspot countries. But having said that, there's frontline workers and nurses and doctors and stuff that are all ahead of cricketers in the queue. So you certainly wouldn't want to be jumping ahead of people that need it more. But yeah, if there's 8 spare doses that are going to get thrown out, then I'm more than happy to rush down to the doctors and catch them before they go on the bin.
Like going to a bakery just as it's closing. Any bread you don't want.
Any AstraZeneca knocking about?
Yeah, exactly. Jimmy was. Yeah, exactly. Thanks so much for joining us, mate, and giving us a little bit of colour after that series. You guys have, done us again. All the best in the World Test Championship final. Mumbai Indians probably winning the World T20 stuff, and we'll just still won't recognise it because of our own insecurities. So cheers.
Fair enough. Sounds good. Thanks, guys.